Hi everybody, so we're going to start off learning a little bit about Adobe Illustrator right now. And Adobe Illustrator is a tool that you really like to use the stylus on a lot of times, but also it can be very powerful with just the mouse. And we're going to work on a pretty simple item just using the mouse and a couple of tools that are available, in particular the pen tool, to trace a very simple image. So let's just take a look at the image we're going to trace, and it's available for you in your Google Classroom stream. So we're going to take a look at it in my preview. I'm working on a Mac right now, but it's still that everything functions relatively same in the graphical user interface of Illustrator as it does on an Apple computer. So here it is. This is our truck image that we want to trace, but see, it's not scalable because it's a raster image. Which means if we make it bigger than this, you're going to get artifacts and pixelization, and I'll show you that when I open it inside of Illustrator. So let's get to work in Illustrator, and the first thing you need to do is just go ahead and click on the Adobe Illustrator icon to open up Adobe Illustrator. You might have to double click on it on your PC. So click on that, and then it'll take just a minute for Illustrator to open up, and you're going to create a new file. And it's going to try and get some input from you about what size image you're working on. So I'm just going to click common here. Right here it's already selected, and then I'll hit create, and you can see it's 1366 pixels by 768. You can of course make any values that you want to. So if we were to go over here to print, and so this is like letter size paper right here. So if you wanted to do letter size paper, sure, let's do that. So I'll click on letter size, and that's 612 points by 792. But if you switch it over to inches, you can see that it's 8.5 by 11, which is a very common size. So if I want to change the orientation to be more appropriate for the image we're working on, I can do that, and then I'll just click create. All right, so here you go. And this little pop-up stuff you can close. It's just some tutorial stuff. It's actually very good material, but you can close that if it pops up on your machine. And then over here, we want to pull in the image of the truck that we're going to trace. So I set it in a weird place, so I'll put it over here where I can see it. And then I'll position Illustrator again. So there's the image that I want to change. And right now, your work area should look like mine. If it doesn't, go up here to this panel right here, down click, and choose Essentials. Okay, these are different workplaces that you can set up on Illustrator. I have personalized ones that I actually like to use. See, if I select on that, I get different tools that come up. Or right here, I get different tools if I work that way. And as you do more in Illustrator, you'll decide which tools you use a lot and what you like to have. But for now, let's just click Essentials and do that. So here we are. And the first thing I want to do is create a new layer. Okay, so layers allow you to place items over, almost like panes of glass over and underneath one another, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So right now, here's my layers panel. See, it says layers right here, and you might have to look around for a second to find yours, but it's there. Okay, so let's create a new layer. So in my layers window here, or layers panel, I'm just going to click on create new layer, which it looks like a little post-it note with its corner folded over. Don't pick the one with the arrow because that creates a new sub-layer. You just want to click this one, and that creates a new layer. So now I got layer 1 and layer 2. Okay, so and what I'll do is for layer 1, this is the lower down in this hierarchy. See, the top layer versus the bottom layer this is the same thing as if you were stacking panels of glass on one another, that you were drawing on the panels of glass with like what do you call those things, a grease pen. So if you were drawing on layers of glass and you placed one above the other, the top image would be the foremost image, so it would go over top of anything that was on layers beneath it. So we want our truck that we're tracing to be on the lowest image, so we will double click on where it says layer 1, and I'm going to retitle this original. And I'll just hit enter. And then I'm going to type on double click on layer 2 and then type in tracing or traced. So that's what I'm tracing, okay? So now I've got 2 layers. I'm going to go ahead and lock the traced layer because I don't want to work on that yet. So see right here next to this eyeball, this empty box right here, I'm going to click on that and a lock shows up. That means I can't do anything to this layer. Then I'm going to click on original and it'll just be highlighted that way. So that's the layer I'm working in. I'm just going to take this traceable truck image that I've shared with you, and I'm just going to go drop that right on my canvas. Okay? So Now I'm going to click on there and I'll move the truck to here. And that looks good. I don't want to move it from there. Okay, now look. Remember how I said this is a raster image and you can't change the size of it? So it looks okay right now. Watch what happens if I expand this image. You start to see some artifacts, especially around the numbers, but also the lines start to get a little blurry. So I'm going to undo that and make it back to its original size and place it right here. The original image is really not that fantastic. Yet another reason to trace it. So I'm going to place that kind of in the middle of my work area there, and I'm actually going to lock the panel, the original panel, and unlock traced. Okay, so now I want to zoom in on this truck that I'm tracing. So I'm going to hit Control and plus on the PC or Command plus on the Mac, and I'm just going to kind of center this where I want it to be. And you can center it by using down here. You see the slider bar? You can move it back and forth by holding that, just like you would in a lot of programs. I'm just going to place that in the center the way I want it. And if you need to move it up and down at all, you can use this one here. Okay, so once you've got it placed where you want it to place and expanded full size, you're going to want to select the pen tool. And that's right here. It looks like that. You can select it either by clicking on this pen tool here, or see how there's that P in parentheses there? You could just hit the P on your keyboard. So I can select it this way. Okay, now, oops, I got the on the wrong layer. See, right now it shows the little Ghostbuster symbol, because if you look over here, I've selected the original layer, and that's locked. So it's saying, no, sir, you cannot draw here because that's locked. So what I'll do is go here and click on the trace layer. Now my pen tool shows up, okay? So I've got the pen tool, and like I said, I can select it by clicking here, but let's click off of it for a second. If I got the arrow, I could just hit the P on my keyboard, and that'll select the pen tool as well. Now look, all that's going to happen with the pen tool is it's going to draw straight lines from points that you click. So when I click right where 1 is, it's going to create a little dot, and it shows me that that's where I've started at. And then I position the pen tool over where I want the end of this line to be. And there I've drawn one line. Now, I don't like that because it's black, and I want to trace in a different color than the truck is for now so that I can most easily see the work that I've done. So I'm going to hit Command Z or Control Z on your PC and Control C again, and that gets rid of the work I've done. And I'm going to go over here to this black box right here. It says stroke, okay? Click to activate, and I'm going to click on that. And so now that's activated, and I'm going to double click on it to change it. So double click. And now over here, I could select a color this way if I wanted to, but I want to use a really true red, so I'm going to go to color swatches, click on that, and then I'm going to go over to CMYK red, click on that, and now the color of the stroke is going to be red. So now let's go back over here, click on 1, click on 2, and you got a nice red line. I kind of want that line to be a little bit thicker than it is if I can help it. So I'll go over here and see these lines right here. It says stroke. Okay, I'm going to click on that, and right here I get the weight of the stroke, and right now it's 1 point. So I'm going to take this little arrow, I'm just going to go up to 2, and that looks a little better. I could go to 3 and make it a little thicker, so I'm going to go to 3. I think that looks great, and you'll be able to see the line very easily with that. And look, when I go back over here, I still have the pen tool selected, and I'll just click on the 3, and there it becomes a little wider. But look at this. See this white that's showing up in here? Well, that's because this is the fill color. Right over here to see if where it says fill, and I don't want a fill color for this particular drawing. A lot of times you would. Okay, you have a shape and it has a line around it that's one color, that's the stroke, and then the fill is the rest of the color of the object, and we'll certainly do work where you do that, of course. But for now, I don't want a fill color, so I'm going to click on the fill box right here, and then I'm going to click on this little white box with the red line through it that says none. And now, that's perfect. So that's gone away. Now, so I can continue tracing, I'll go to 4 and 5. Let's go up to 6, 7. Now I got to do a diagonal line to 8. Go to 9. And go to 10. If at any time you make a mistake and you want to go back and redo something, you just hit Control Z, and see, that'll just make things disappear, and then you can do it again. So like, say if I did this, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's terrible. So I'll just go Command Z, and click over here, and go to 10. Now, if you look, coming up, we've got an arc that I've got to do. So I'm going to go straight across. Now, you see there's a little incline to that. So I'm just going to go to here and create that. And now, my next click that I'm going to make, this next anchor that's going to be right here, I'm going to click and drag. Instead of just briefly clicking, I'm going to click and drag. And it's going to create something called a Bezier handle, and that will be on my line, and the line will curve, and that will be called a Bezier curve, okay? So I'm going to go to where 12 is. I'm going to click and drag. Now you see this handle, and as I adjust it back and forth, it changes the line. So it can become shorter and then longer, okay? And you'll see that as you kind of work with the handles on there, you'll create this curve. And you try and line the curve up as much as you can with the original drawing's curve. And I'll let go of that. And that's not a bad curve, so I'm pretty happy with that. If I wanted to do it again, I could hit Command Z, but that's pretty close. So then from here, I'm going to go ahead and the next line will be curved because it's still attached to that those Bezier handles, okay? So what I want to do is hold down the control button and see I go to the arrow. I'm going to click off of the truck. I'm going to click off of this. See, now I have a whole new space that I'm working on. So if I go over here and I click, now I can start with a straight line again. So I can go from 12 to 13, down to 14, over here to 15, and we got another tough job to do. So we're going to have to pull in a new tool on this because here I'm going to hold down Control and click off so I'm free again. Making a perfect semicircle like this is super challenging. And actually, if you look right here, this is basically a straight line. It's not even curving at this point. So I'm going to make this part real quick. I'm just going to click here and I'm going to click to there. Okay? And I'm going to hold down Control and click off. And now I want to make this semicircle type area. Okay? And to do that, I'm going to once again need to use a Bezier curve. So I'm going to click it on this anchor. I'm just going to click. Then I'm going to click down here and drag. And then just work with the tool. See if you can get a nice curve there. That's not bad. Okay? So now we've got that curve going. And if I click over here, I can go down to this spot again, click and drag, work on the curve until it looks as close as you can. Now, to make an exact semicircle, if we had a drawing where we really, really needed to make an exact semicircle, we would use different tools and a different methodology to do that. But for this kind of a rough tracing and really just to mainly match what we've got going on here, that tool and this pen tool, which is what we primarily want to use in this lesson, that'll work just fine. Okay? So now moving on, I want to hold down Control again, click off, go back to the pen tool to this anchor point right here, click, and draw this straight line across to here. Okay, let's try a different way of making this semicircle. So I'm going to click off again. And I don't want to be encumbered by these lines that I've already got. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to draw a quarter of a circle essentially. So I'm going to click. Then I'm going to go up to here to halfway across the circle. I'm going to click and drag. And I'm going to try and get that as close as I can. That looks pretty good. All right, so there I have that. Now, what I want to do now is create a mirror or a reflection of this. So I'm going to hold down Control and click off. Then I'm going to go to my black arrow, which you can select either by clicking here or the letter V. And I'm going to select this arc. Now, here's my reflect tool. It is right. Is it not selected? Width tools, shape builder. I do not see the reflection tool up here right now. Let's see if is it a drop down from something. Yeah, here's the reflect tool. So right now it has the rotate tool selected. So if I click down and hold, this menu is going to drop up. And here's the reflect tool right there. Okay, or I can just select it with the letter O. Okay, so I need to select this line again. So I'm going to go V and select this, and then I'm just going to hit the O button to select the reflect tool, and I'm going to hit enter. Now this menu is going to come up. We want to do a vertical reflection, so we've got that selected. We could go horizontal, but that's not what we want here. We want vertical, so we're going to select vertical. And then we want to preview what it's going to look like. Okay, that's fine right now, because what we're going to do is we're going to place this somewhere else. But you notice that it just flipped, it just sort of only gives you the reflection of the arc, and we want both. So right here where it says copy, instead of OK, I want you to hit copy. There you go. All right. Now, instead of dragging this with the mouse, which you could do, I want you to just use the right arrow on your keyboard, and you can just one at a time move this until your arc gets placed where you want it to be. Now, this is like when you start moving it up and down, that can be problematic. So I'm just going to go here and place it the best I can, and I'm going to select V again for the black arrow. Select this, and now I need to move this down 1 or 2. 1 will be good, and they're on the same level. Now, as you can see, I didn't quite make that arc long enough, so all I'm going to do is go to the pen tool, select this anchor, go to this anchor, bam, fill that in, no problem. And now I can go back to here. Keep drawing 18 to 19. So here's an idea. Now I got to do this again, and I want it to look the same. I like this one. I'm happy with it. I don't really want to go through all that of drawing it again, so I'm going to select V and get my arrow. I'm going to click off here. And now you see what it's all one line. So what I can do is I can just hold down the Alt key and hover over the line. So I'm holding down Alt, and see how these 2 arrows show up? Now if I just drag, make a complete copy of what I just had. All right, and that's fantastic, except for this line's too long. So how do I fix that? Let's go click on the letter A, and you get the white arrow. Double click on this anchor and just drag this back and shorten this line. It's okay if you drag it a little shorter than it's going to need to be, because we'll just fix it when we get back over there, when we place it where we want it to be. So now that that's there, you need to click V and select the black arrow. So the A arrow is more for changing the shape of things, and the black arrow is more for individually selecting things and moving things. So now that I have the black arrow, I can just click and drag and move this over where I want it to be. Take a look at that, and that's placed pretty well, isn't it? So now I need to make this line longer, and so it intersects with 1. So I'm just going to select the white arrow by clicking up here or using the letter A, going down to this anchor, double click, and drag it over to there. Bam. All right? So now you've got all one thing, but we need to draw this cab in here. So that's super easy. We'll just select the pen tool again. I'm going to go over here. Bam. 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 Oh no, that's not a perfect square. That doesn't look right. So what do I want to, so I need to fix that. Oh, you know what? Maybe I could use a better tool for this. Command Z, and get rid of that. Okay, and Command Z and get rid of that last one. And I'm going to go over here. Look, this is the rectangle tool. Now, in fact, there's a lot of polygons in here. If you click and hold, the menu comes up and you could choose different ones, and we'll use the ellipse tool in just a second. But for now, just select this rectangle tool right here. Put it on the corner of the rectangle you want to draw and just drag. Bam, it's perfect. Okay, so I'm going to hold down Control again and click off of the truck. And now I need to make, let's see, I need to go ahead and make these wheels. However, if you look at this, the wheels, if we want to copy the whole thing, the wheels are in the foreground, right? They're in front of this line right here. So if we were going to fill those in, then we could draw this line first and put it in a lower layer over here in the layers panel. But since we're not filling this in, we're just tracing it, what we'll do is go ahead and we will draw the circles first and then just draw these lines independently. So I'm going to go back up to this ellipse tool, hold down on it and click on, or rather go up to the polygon tool, click on it, hold down and go to the ellipse tool, which is right here. Or as you can see, you could just click on the letter L to select that also. But we're going to go over here and we're going to draw these circles. Now, you kind of click somewhere. It's kind of hard to position the circles. I usually draw them and then reposition them. But if you just click and drag like you did with the rectangle, so you're going to get oval shapes and stuff like that. But if you hold down the Shift key, it makes you get perfect circles. Okay, so I'm going to Command Z and try and be a little closer to the circle when I draw it. And I'm hold down Shift and drag till I think it's about the right size. And now I will select the black arrow, click on the image, and I'm going to use the arrow keys on my keyboard to move this circle around. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Okay, so once again, let's use that duplicate. So you've got the black arrow selected, and just hover over the dot in the center of the circle and hold down your Alt key. And when you do that, you should get, it didn't really do it when I held it over the circle. It does better if I'm holding it over the line right here and hold down Alt. You get the two arrows and just drag, and it's going to give you a duplicate circle. And don't even let go of the Alt key. Just keep that down. Just go ahead and place this one. And look, I've still got the double arrows, and I'll just copy this one and move it over to here. And now my truck's got 3 wheels. That's fantastic. So I want to just draw this line right here, this last little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and select my pen tool. Start here. Click. Click. Okay, then I don't want to click through here, because if I do, I draw that line across. So I'm going to Command Z and undo that. I'm going to hold down Control, click off, then come back to here, click, click, Command, click off, go to here, click, click, Command, click off, go to here, click, click. Okay, so that's pretty good, but I think I want to pick my white arrow, so I'm going to just hit the letter A, go to the white arrow, and I want to make these lines a little bit longer, so I'm double click on this anchor and just drag it a little bit. Then I'm going to go to this anchor, double click on that and just drag it just that little bit. Do this one as well, double click, drag it just a tad. Double click. You know, I can even use the left arrow here, look. And it just goes 1, 2, that's perfect. So it gives you a little more exact thing. And if I look over here, see that little corner that's showing up? I don't like that. So I'm going to double click on this white arrow, and I'm just going to do the left arrow key, move it that way. Look, if it's the right arrow key, it goes that way. If I use the up arrow, it goes that way, but I don't want to do any of that. I just want to place it right there. Or is that okay? Yeah, that looks good. Click off. Okay, so that's looking good. Want to go here, double click on that. And I'm just going to go right arrow, click, perfect. Click here, left arrow, perfect. All right, now let's look at how this truck looks independent of the numbers and everything. So if I go over here to the original that's locked and see this little eyeball, I'm just going to click that and it's going to make it disappear. And there's my truck. And I immediately see one error right here. So I'm going to double click on that, and I'm just going to use my arrow keys again. That's better. That's too far. So that's about the best I can get with that. And that's terrific. Now, the original drawing was in that navy blue or something. Let's see. So bring this back. Let's hide this. So the original truck was in some sort of a bluish color, I think. So if I want to do that, I can just bring the trace layer back. And I'm just going to click on, see this little circle right here? I'm going to click on that, and that selects everything in that layer that I've done so far. And I want to go over here and change the color. So I'll just double click on this window, color swatches. Let's see, find a nice blue. This one almost looks like the right color. Let's just go with this one, though. I'll click OK. Oh, and there you got your blue letters. And so then once again, we'll hide the original. Fantastic. Okay, so there's your truck image. I'm going to share this picture with you. I want you to trace this truck image just like I did and save it as an Adobe Illustrator file. Okay, and then I want you to call me over and share this. Rather, I just want you to go ahead and either, if we're doing this in a classroom setting, I want you to go ahead and just let me know that you finished the truck, and then I'll come over to your desk and I will grade it at your desk to show that you finished. Or if we're doing this in an online course, then I want you to share the Adobe Illustrator file with me. So here's how you save the file, and you need to save this file whether you're in the classroom or online. So I want you to just go File, Export. Well, actually, let's save it first. So just go File, Save, and it's going to ask you what to save it as. I'm going to put this on the desktop, and I'm going to call it Truck Trace. And save that onto my desktop. And there it is. Here's the Illustrator file. It's a .ai file. Okay, and so share that with me. Upload that file to your to this assignment in the Google Classroom stream, or upload this file to Blackboard if you're working in Blackboard, and then I will go ahead and give that a grade. Thank you very much. Go ahead and let's see your best work, folks.